Hello, everyone, for Workshops for Moms. We are so glad you're here. We bring you this weekly uplift every Thursday, and we are seeing you today at 4 o'clock. Next week, it will be at 9 o'clock because we love to make sure that we're getting everybody in every time zone, and we have speakers coming to us from around the world. And so we found that works really well, having an afternoon session and a morning session. So welcome, welcome. Wow, do we have great speakers today. I'm Tracy Cheney, and I'm getting to introduce to you Irene Martinez. And Irene works with our littlest ones. So anyone that you know that has a small one or is planning a baby, you do not want to miss Irene's presentation. So Irene empowers new and expectant parents with the confidence and clarity and connection to maximize the benefits of that first year of life with their new babies. And those of us who are moms and grandparents, we know that first year is unbelievable. You cannot know what's coming, but here's somebody to really help you. She's a pediatric occupational therapist with over 20 years of clinical expertise, including the Children's Hospital in Miami. She is certified in neurodevelopment and sensory integration. Her experience is working with the tiniest infants and their families at critically important times inspired Irene to create her signature system, Best Baby Beginnings. Irene, we're so excited to hear from you today at Workshops for Moms. Take it away.
Thank you, Tracy, for that wonderful introduction. I had promised to talk about 3 ways in which our newborn babies communicate with us. They communicate obviously without words, but wouldn't it be wonderful to remember that language so we could together create the best beginnings to life? Because you're right, Tracy, that first year is the very foundation of life. In fact, those first few months while you're unwrapping the gift of a human being into the world, they are, for me, miraculous. And that's why I call them miracle moments. And we don't want to miss this moment in the first year of our baby's life. And that's also what inspired me to create my signature system called Best Baby Beginnings. Because after I had the privilege of working with so many families throughout the years, I knew from experience how much parents just wanted to give their babies the best beginning. So that is what inspired me to create a signature system so that would be readily available for all parents. Now, what if our babies could talk? I'm going to propose that they do. And they speak in a language that many of us have forgotten. But one of the highest privileges that I have is to help new parents remember that language that is like an innate wisdom within us, so that together with their babies, they can really create the best foundations for a lifetime. I wanted to welcome everybody and also to get us thinking about what are some of the questions that we have about this time in our babies' lives. I mean, what is it that we wish we knew? I know that babies don't come with instructions, and they don't speak with words, but what if we were able to recognize their signals and we knew what to do and when? It is a bit of a challenge, but I do think that we human beings are wired for this, and that we have the chance to remember that innate language that we come in with. And so my goal is really to help parents kind of relax into the experience so that they and their baby's stress is not too high, and they can enjoy creating that part of their life together. Because that time is critical. It's not just that it's critical, but it's not going to come back either. And once it's gone, like, there's so many vital windows of opportunity there that I don't want parents to miss out on. So this is the reason why I created Best Baby Beginnings, because that's what every parent would tell me. Oh, I just want what's best for my baby. I want to give my baby the best. So now that I have some of you here, I'm going to go ahead and welcome you to just ground yourself a little bit into the moment and try to remember what is it that you would have liked the most in that first year of life. I'm going to put a little word salad up, or we have a little word salad up, just to help you think about. Did you want peace of mind? To know that your baby was developing optimally? Did you want to know that you were super effective at sorting through the mountains of advice that you get, particularly from the internet and from every interested person out there that's been a parent, and just know what was important at this stage? Because I think as a new parent, there's so much coming up at you that is difficult to sort through what's most important for you and your baby, and also what is important when. I mean, we have different periods in the lifespan. The newborn period is very different from the late infancy when the baby's starting to crawl and explore the world. The newborn period is more about just getting that baby to be comfortable in their own skin. So there's a lot of things that happen that first year. And that's why sometimes I call that period of life a field of miracles. Because I have seen babies and parents truly create habits that are going to be with them for the rest of their lives. So what would be important? If you could please post in the chat, what would be something that you really, well, like, yeah, they don't come with instructions. But honestly, Latasha, I do feel that if we can just relax with some confidence into who we really are, especially if we have the confidence of being well supported throughout the stage, we get to remember just how miraculous we are. I mean, when we have a chance to connect with our babies, there's something nonverbal that happens that is a lot more important than words. And that's how that communication starts. And when we're able to trust our own instincts and know what's important when, we can really relax and enjoy that period. And to me, that's a sign of good health. In fact, when you go to my monthly talks, I talk about, a lot of parents will ask me, oh, how do I know that I'm doing this right? And yes, there's a lot of information up there, but I really try for parents not to get so caught up in the informational part of it, because that you can look up in the internet, in a book. But every child is different. What you really want to is honor, like really know that you are enjoying that moment with your baby, and that you're honoring the way or the time that this baby is literally unraveling into the world. They're going to develop their own way, and you want to pick up what's important and when. And you as a parent, I think, also change. Would you agree with me that that's like a really paramount experience for a parent as well as the baby? Who here knows that that changes you forever? Latasha says yes. Who else knows that that is going to change your life forever? Sometimes we have this lullabies for the parents, which I they're like my meditation, some of my meditation techniques that I do with the parents. I call them lullabies because they kind of soothe their soul, right? Our souls. And it's one way for us to remember um, just what is important and to enjoy that moment and build on it. Because that's essentially the business of Best Baby Beginning. We're building and we're blessing. And that to me is health. When we know that we're enjoying, and truly there's science behind what I'm saying. I'm not just saying this to, you know, oh, because we want to enjoy the experience. The nervous system actually um, grows, develops um, when they're relaxed and in a playful mode. That is how we grow. So when we're enjoying an experience, that's a sign of health. So I have something that I call the joy meter. And I ask parents to really, like, when they're going crazy thinking, am I doing this right? I mean, what developmental checklist am I supposed to check now to make sure that my baby is doing okay? And I'm like, okay, let's look at your joy meter as well. Are you fully present with your baby? And are you enjoying this experience? Because my job, I see it as helping them maximize the benefit of those vital developmental windows that happen in that stage of life. Let me check what's going on in the chat now. Latasha likes the joy meter. I do too. I mean, sometimes I really want to throw away the developmental checklist because really people get so bogged down with that. It's like, and they start comparing. And I don't know about you, but I don't think comparison is that helpful because every person, and I've been saying that throughout the years, but that's because I've learned a lot from my little teachers, my babies. Every person is a different miracle. I mean, I've had the privilege of holding babies that had a rough landing. And people said, oh, they never do this and they never do that. Well, now I see them on Facebook doing everything that everybody said that they were not going to do. So we're just different, and we should make space for that richness in the nervous system. Because that's what makes us this really cool people, variety. Mel says, love the joy meter too. Yeah. They're rarely helpful. I mean, sometimes they're a little helpful, but I totally agree with you. Comparison is human nature, but it's rarely helpful, especially with mothers, because I think it adds another layer of stress. You don't need that. And I'm telling you, when your stress is too high, everything in your nervous system shuts down. Yeah. And Tracy says, the ads are right. A baby changes everything. Yeah. All right. So my question that I would love for us to consider, and please put in the chat what you think. And this is my proposition. What if we had the peace of mind to know that we're giving our infants the best beginnings to life? What a nice fresh breath that would be. As we relax in a structure of support that is really right for us. But my challenge is this: what if it was easy and joyful for both of you? Not just the baby. I mean, because I think moms, and let me know if you have different perspectives, but a lot of moms, they're so caught up in doing what's best for their babies that they forget about themselves. And I don't believe that our full giving is that wonderful when we're giving from an empty cup. And I think Latasha is going to touch on that when she comes, when she starts with her talk. But self-care is primordial. And that's one of the things that we really need to support new parents with. In my program, Best Baby Beginnings, like I mentioned to you, we have different things that we do to decrease the stress level. The lullabies, something I call sacred rhythms, and the community where we hold each other. And like I said, we build and we bless, because really that's the only way to be, to create that context for healthy development for the baby and for the parent who's expanding so much. I think one of the most expansive spiritual experience is when you become a parent. So we do address that in our program. But I'm digressing here. What I want to show you, as I told you, I would show you 3 ways in which your baby communicates with you non-verbally. But I happen to think of this moments as like little miracle moments that we don't want to miss, right? And I'm reminded of that quote by Albert Einstein. There are 2 ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle. The other is as if though everything is a miracle. But I think you may agree with me that when you have a baby in your arms, you're pretty sure that it's a miracle, because things are changing so radically, and instinctively we know that this is the foundation for an entire lifetime, and that this human being is literally unfolding and blossoming in front of our eyes. So here's the first miracle moment I'd like to show you. In this minute, we're going to talk about, okay, what's this baby saying? This baby is so nicely regulated. By that, I mean the nervous system is not stressed out. It's not like he's perfectly resting, right? And I can tell that they are like in the perfect state of readiness for what? You're going to ask me for what? And it is they're exploring. Babies learn, they're actually drinking the world through their skin, through touch. So that's one of the most incredible avenues for communication between parents and their babies. But this baby is showing us so many wonderful things, right? They are discovering their own body by bringing their hands together. And they're doing it subconsciously. So all this is imprinting in their brains. And they're doing it beautifully right now, because I bet you this baby is also getting ready to feed. And the way I can tell is because you see how the hands are positioned near the mouth? The mouth initially is where all that touch gets super concentrated. So that's how they start exploring the world, not just through their skin, but particularly with their mouths and their lips. But this baby is beautifully receptive to this touch. A lot of my babies, they would get very stressed out when you went around their mouth. It was too much for them. This baby is perfectly happy with everything that is happening right now. And this is one way that they talk to us without words. Any questions? I'm going to go on to the next miracle moment. Okay, here we're also addressing touch, because the skin is such a big organ, right? And like I said, it's how they feel the world initially. This one, I'm going to talk about grasping. In one of these pictures, the baby is telling us, see how their little hand is with their fingers spread out like that? Something in their environment is startling or irritating them. And by contrast, in the other picture, they're holding on, grasping their parents' hand. And that's one reflex or regulatory mechanism that we human beings have built in, right? But it's literally how a baby gets a hold of themselves, feels safe by grasping. A lot of the babies I saw in the neonatal intensive care unit and the cardiac intensive care unit, this is how initially we would get the mom and the baby to interact, because some of these babies were they were not stable, and they had to be in a particular incubator and all that. So sometimes this is all they could do, right? But I'm telling you that skin to skin contact and just having their parents had to hold on, it made such a difference, because they remember their parents, but just being able to hold on gave that baby that ability to regulate their own stress level and to feel safe. And by comparison, that also helps with the sucking. So the sucking and the grasping come in together to help the baby regulate their arousal level in response to the world, get ready to feed, be able to pull themselves together so they can live in the world. And this all happens naturally. Isn't it a miracle? So, yeah, somebody, Latasha says, wow, the power of skin contact. Yes, and well, don't get me started on skin to skin, because we don't have time to talk about it right now. I'm going to show you one more slide, but like the first time, the first opportunities. Oh yes, I'm going to say something about this, because it happened to be in my country that they developed the kangaroo care of the skin to skin babies, because what happened was that they in Colombia, this one particular hospital didn't have enough incubators to take care of this premature baby. So the doctors, with all they could muster is like, just try to keep the baby warm next to your skin, and that'll give them a higher chance of survival. Well, guess what happened? The babies that went home with the moms, skin to skin, they did better than the ones that were in the incubators. So that's how, and we were able to study it, and somebody took the chance to measure it. And so that's where we realized how drastically important this is. So the first, skin to skin, Latasha, when you talk skin to skin, that is incredibly important. And, we as adults forget, but those babies, they haven't forgotten. And it's incredibly beneficial for both the baby and the parent. Because those moms, like, the stress level also gets super regulated just from being skin to skin with their babies. Okay, no more digressing. We're going to the next and last signal I was going to show you today, another way of communicating. This is probably one of my favorites, only because there's so many components to it. As you see, the mom is super relaxed, right? She's very confidently holding her baby. So she knows exactly where to put her hands, because babies don't have motor control. They haven't built it yet when they first land into the world. So she knows exactly how to support the baby's spine against gravity, because the baby has no head control yet. But she is making eye contact with her baby from the nook of her arm to her face. And guess what? Nature does that on purpose, because that's the perfect focusing distance for baby. And mom has just the right contrast for the baby's eyes. So visually, this is one of the most important and enriching activities that we can do. But what I think is wonderful is, like, you see that they're happy, right? And she's so confident, and I'm sure she's also rocking her baby, the way she's holding that baby. So she's doing a lot of wonderful things. And I want to talk not just about her confidence, but also the fact that when she's looking at her baby in this position and rocking the baby, the movement, depending on how we move a baby, movement has a way of also really impacting the nervous system. So it can increase arousal, decrease arousal, can do all sorts of wonderful things. It's another enriching avenue by which we communicate. So that's it. 3 ways in which your nonverbal ways in which your baby communicates with you. And I always invite parents to remember those and enjoy those, because that's what you're building a lifetime on. And this is how we build our best beginnings to life. Okay, so let me see. It's my pleasure to do this. I mean, it's such a pleasure for me to share this with parents and help them find the joy and the confidence. Because even though they used to call me like baby whisperer and all this stuff at the hospital, feeding guru, whatever, but really the most important person in a baby's life is their parents. So my job right now is to help new parents be their own baby whisperers, baby guru, whatever you want it, but you're the most important person in your baby's life. And you want to squeeze the benefit out of those moments. So that's why I created Best Baby Beginnings. So if you know someone who's having a baby, you might want them to sign up at bestbabybeginnings.com. I have at least one talk monthly. And when people attend those talks, I also give them a gift, like a one-to-one complimentary session, just to make sure that they feel supported and they feel confident with the decisions they're making as they're building their nest of support. And then if it feels right, then we talk a little bit about my program, Best Baby Beginnings, and see if it's a fit for them. If they want to have ongoing support for the first year of their baby's life. And so with that, I am going to, I wanted to say a little bit about my program. It is, it has several things. Not everybody is a developmental expert. And yeah, there's a lot of information and advice out there. But like I said at the beginning, I like to demystify development and just help parents know what areas are important, because it's too much. I mean, a whole human being is literally shaping itself in front of your eyes. And it's too much to keep up with. And it's not just about information, it's about making sure you can pick the right activities at the right time. And who knows that, right? So that's a whole set of things. So what I try to do is I demystify development and help them discern what's important and when, and then really making sure they get the benefit of those vital windows of opportunity. Because those windows of opportunity only come around at that time. You know the imprinting, right? You like, that happens and, it just makes an imprint of it in your brain for the rest of your life. And that's why I call them miracle moments, because you don't want to miss those. And the third component of my program, which I think Latasha is going to go a little bit into the self-care part, but I think that is so intrinsically important so that we can be there for our babies. We need to have the support and the ability to care for ourselves, because we cannot give from an empty cup. And this parenting experience is going to stretch you. Like, your baby is going to grow, but you are going to stretch in ways that you had no idea, because that love does that to you. We know that, right? When you love somebody so much, it's like your heart overflows, but it's like your whole being, because you change along with your baby. So some of my gifts are the talk that I do, the class that I do, and if you do know someone that is expecting, I just popped Mitri just popped my Calendly link for a consultation. I would rather they attend the class first because then they'll know more like what to expect and to gain like more, they'll have more questions, like more of an idea of, what is it that is really important for me and where do I need support. And that's when I like to meet with them and give them a free consultation, make sure that they feel comfortable and, just bless them on their way because this is a big thing.
Well, thank you so much, especially your pictures of the babies.
No,
Smiling all the way through. That's awesome.
Doesn't love a baby, right? It's like
Yeah.
sometimes when I'm being hard on myself, I I try to treat myself like a newborn baby child. There's a song about that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. That makes you want to either have another baby. No, another grandchild. Yes, another grandchild. Yes, that would be okay. Do it right this time. Yeah.
It's
So
always going to be a work in progress.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
never going to be perfect. And, managing our expectations is part of that. It's like we have to prioritize. Okay, what's important today? What's important this month? So that we don't drive ourselves nuts. Because I know about you, but I could.
Yep. Well, like you said, Latasha is going to be talking next about mom self-care.
Hi, everybody. I just saw, I didn't see everybody come in. Hi, Jana. Hi, Leslie. Hi, Mel. If you have any feedback for me, I would appreciate it if you put it in the chat. This has been a little different because this month we're doing it in conjunction for workshops for mom. So we kind of just tailored our talk a little bit differently, but I hope it was just as exciting to see those miracle moments that we don't want to miss. Hi there. So you got my Calendly and the bestbabybeginnings.com, correct?
Mhm.
And so, shall we make a transition now to the next wonderful speaker?
Mhm.
Let me just introduce Latasha Neal. Latasha Neal is a mirror coach who helps you see the real empowered you. Latasha invites you on a journey to reflect the parts of you that are screaming to come out, especially in regards to your life's work. Applying her 8+ years of experience as a behavior specialist with her master's in mental health counseling, Latasha equips you to be your own rescuer. She is committed to helping you uncover and live out your purpose in an intentional and genuine way. Outside of helping moms, Latasha loves to dance and spend time at the beach. So do I.
Wow, thank you so much. And I really appreciated your talk. It was so beautiful. So thank you so much for that, Irene. I'm so glad to be here, everyone. Um, and I'm going to share my screen with you all. Let's see. Right here. And we're going to talk about 3 keys to uncover your purpose. And as we know, sometimes as a mom, we can get lost in ourselves. And Irene mentioned that a little bit in her talk. And to begin to not get lost, this talk is going to help you kind of unveil that and be able to, really stay centered in yourself in the process, enjoying it, but also not forgetting who you are and losing yourself. So let's see. Oh, sorry, technical. Let's see if this will work. Okay, there we go. So I wanted to share this particular topic with you ladies because our mental health is connected to our purpose. So there was a study in 2013 that said, that found that individuals with a more sense of purpose in life were better at managing stress and had better self-rated health status. And that's just fancy for saying the way that they rated their own mental health, right? They felt way better because they had that sense of purpose. Because when you understand your purpose and 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 have that clear in your mind, it's easier to know where you say yes and where you say no. It becomes easier to understand your focus and how you want to show up in the world, for everyone that's in your world, right? And imagine when you have that focus, your mental health is better because it's not scattered with all these other things that we can be bombarded with, right? So, what would life look like to experience it as fully you as a mom, you individually? Because before you were a mom, you were Tracy, you were Irene, you were Lindsay, you were Mitra, all of you, right? You were you before you became a mom. So, um, being a mother is so beautiful and it's so amazing. I want to make sure that you don't get lost in that. That is part of you. And once you're a mom, right? Um, but it's not the whole story. And I want to make sure that that essence of who you are doesn't get lost. Especially, I know there's some new moms on here, as well. So I wanted to present this question to you. Does the title mom, create assumptions of who you have to be? And you can totally put that in the chat. Like, do you feel like you have to live up to something that may not be connected to you as much, or may not feel right all the time? Sometimes that can be presented, can happen when we're a mom. So it's really important to understand the assumptions that you have yourself, because that's going to really help you when you understand, okay, how am I maybe holding myself back because of what I assume I have to be? And then again, when we have those assumptions, we get derailed, right? And we don't feel good because it's no longer about us and centering on us. Oh, I got some agreements. Yeah, absolutely, Leslie. And this quote was by Soren. I'm not going to pretend to say his last name correctly, but you guys know. It says the deepest form, and I tweaked it a little bit because he said himself, so I just added herself because we got these beautiful women on this call. But it says the deepest form of despair is to choose to be another than herself. You don't want you to be anyone else but yourself. And that includes the stereotype of what a mom should be, right? You are your own purpose, and how you show up as a mom is going to be unique. Your path is going to be unique. Who you are is unique as a mom. It doesn't have to be like anyone else, right? So it does yourself a disservice when you're trying to be someone else. And even if that's expectations that others put on you as a mom, you know. So if you are feeling like you're losing yourself, fatigued, without drive or interest, you're in the right place. Being a mom, we can have any one of these kind of feelings happening at any point of the journey. And I want to give you some support on how we can adjust those areas. So just gonna go here. Some of the most common problems is that there's no alone time, right? We don't have alone time in the bathroom or when we're eating lunch or dinner and so forth. And there's this constant battle for time. And I loved how Irene said it earlier. Like, we can enjoy those moments because they will fade, they will pass. But sometimes we do need that space for ourselves. So how do we begin to introduce that? Because we want to keep our joy meter up, right? I love that so much. And there's another problem is potentially everyone has an opinion on your parenting, right? And sometimes it's social media, it's these gurus, it's our parents, it's our siblings, it's everyone in our, everyone has this kind of idea on how we should parent. And the intention is they mean well, right? They want to help out. They want to be there for you. Sometimes that can be so overwhelming. And that goes to that next one, like feeling overwhelmed because your plate is filled, you're doing things, especially if you're a new mom, that you never done before. And even if you're not a new mom, like it's like stack on stack on stack of all these responsibilities that you have with your children, and it could be very overwhelming. So we have some hot tips for you to share. So how do we remedy this? No alone time? Well, one way is creative flexibility. And what I mean by that is sometimes, our time we know gets really scattered, right? We don't know when the child is going to wake up or start crying for something. Our attention is pulled, or, maybe if it's a toddler, they're climbing on something and things fall down, right? So when I say creative flexibility, it's it's being creative on, like, how can I create this flexibility with the kind of chaos that is all around me. And that might mean waiting till the child goes to bed. That might mean garnering the support of a spouse or a loved one, and giving yourself that time, being very intentional. But how does that work? You have to know what you personally need, right? And the time that you're going to be able to do that sometimes requires this creativity based on who's in your network, based on your child's sleep schedule, or maybe not so much of a schedule, the different things that are going on. And you have to allow yourself to be creative in that moment. And I'm going to talk a little bit later on more on how you can do that. But in short, it's being in tune with yourself and what you need. And the fact that everyone has an opinion, one thing to remedy that is to ignore respectfully, especially because that person's not in your shoes. They don't have the same experience, even if that person and I happen to be an identical twin. Even if that person is your identical twin, you're not experiencing the same thing at the same time. Your experience is different. So, and of course, some support and some advice from friends and family. Again, it's not malintention. It's actually like with a good heart in mind, but then just kind of knowing, okay, what is something that I can receive at that time, and what is something that you might have to just let go of. And then last but not least, when feeling overwhelmed, is getting centered in your body. One of those ways to do it is the 5. It's like using your 5 fingers, right? And kind of being present in the moment. So 1, at your five senses, I'm sorry, using your five senses. So one, what are five things I see around me right now? Two, and you're using your sight, of course. What are things that you hear? What are things that you smell? Four things that you hear, three things that you smell, two things that you touch, and one thing that you can taste. And even if you're not eating in the moment, like the air and like it's, certain scents, when you smell something, you kind of taste it as well. Having that helps us to get centered in the moment. Because now we're engaging our senses and we're being present in real time. The other part of that, and I said the grand scheme of things. And what I mean by that is, sometimes we can get so overwhelmed with things that in the moment seem so big. But when we really look at it in the grand scheme of things, that little reminder is that it's not as maybe overwhelming or not. I don't want to say overwhelming because I don't want to get the sense that I'm belittling our feelings. No, because they're very much real and very much valid. But when we are able to shift that perspective and say, okay, in the grand scheme of things, how is this really affecting me? How is this really impacting my life or my child's life and so forth? It gives us the opportunity to switch that perspective a little bit. And at any time, you can totally give me, you can ask me a question if you'd like, or put that in the chat. So when you dance, your purpose is not to get a certain place on the dance floor. It's to enjoy the step along the way. And we heard that a lot from Irene as well. Like, you want to feel the joy of the moment, enjoy the process. And this, when you understand your purpose, it's like a dance, right? Because it's not the same thing for every season of your life, right? And you want to enjoy the parts that you're learning about yourself, the areas that you're growing and how you're moving. So being able to do that is such an art and a gift. I have this another quote: if you can't figure out your purpose, figure out your passion. For your passion will lead you right into your purpose. Because what our passion is an energy that we have, and that leads us. So, we have different types of passions, but I was helping one of my clients and she loves to paint, and she needed income. She's feeling really stressed. And we started talking about some of the things that she loves. And now she has a face painting business after working 3 months with her. And she's doing fantastic. And she's like, I go to work and it doesn't feel like work. And she's understanding her purpose for this time in her life, right? It might not be the end goal, but right now that's what's giving her joy. So, teaching point number 1, take a deep breath. You are actually living in your purpose. Sometimes we think it's all these different things that are out there, but you actually are. And your past shows you there are different parts of your life that you'll see is kind of a pattern of what you've created for your life. There are skills, there are abilities, there's ways that you uniquely show up that is absolutely who you are. And it's part of that purpose that you have, right? So I know when people hear this, they're like, wait, I'm always wondering, we're always told we got to find our purpose. Well, what if you're living it already, right? Right now, right? How much relief does that feel? Pop yes in the chat. That feels good. So the next point that we have is you want to envision your favorite day. This helps us a lot. And it's usually a culmination of different things that we love, right? So when we're trying to uncover our purpose, it's like, how do we now do it in an intentional way? Because I think that's usually the missing link. We might be living it, but not always as intentionally. So how can we like make it a little bit more centered and focused and do it more intentionally? And how we do that is start envisioning, start dreaming, start seeing what that would look like, what you actually want, even as being a mom. What does being a mom look like for you? What does a great mom day look like for you, right? What does it feel like to like nurture and be all of who you are and be a mom? What does that actually look like for you? And when you start to envision that, helps you to clarify your purpose. Tip number 3 is write a list of all of your skills, your passions, your priorities, and desires with no limits for this season of your life. And the reason why I say that is that we have different seasons in our lives, and what might be my focus or what I feel my purpose is right now may be different from 5 years from now, right? It might be different from 2 years. So not focusing so much on it necessarily for the future, but what are my skills, passions, and priorities right now for the season that you're in right now? And that helps shed light on your purpose as well. Okay, and this is just a bonus one. Oh, it says, let me, oh, that's a typo, but basically the bonus tip was understanding once you kind of realize what you look at your skills and your passions and priorities and so forth, is now being in community with people who understand you and want to highlight some of the things that they know about you. So whether that is a loving friend or another colleague or adult that you trust. I'll give you an example. Like when I was I used to work with youth, and I thought for a long time, I want to be a teacher, like that's my thing. And I do teach now, ironically, but not in the way that I thought I was going to. And one person told me, she said, you are meant to be, and this is someone that I trust, and she is amazing. She said, Latasha, I think you would be amazing at providing some sort of mental health support, professional development. And at the time, I didn't really understand. I'm like, how? But I trusted her. And it was just so amazing, like how things lined up when you have someone in your life that sees your gifts and your talents and they pour into you, right? So that would be the bonus tip, that like you have people in your life that pour into you, that know you well enough and can highlight some of those things about you to help clarify that purpose that you have. So this is just a quick testimonial. I have worked with this gentleman. His name, we'll keep it MW, but we worked together, and I didn't pay him to write this. He totally wrote this on himself. But within 6 weeks of working together, the biggest challenges that he had, he started to feel resolve in. He started to understand more about his purpose and what actually made him happy, and choosing that joy through the process that we went through. And I really wanted to see him. I wanted him to see himself for who he truly was and not as anyone else. So that through that process, he was able to get that support and really alleviate the stress of not knowing and really starting centering and believing in himself. So just as a review, the tips, it's breathe, you're living it, you're living your purpose. You just want to hone in and clarify it a little, but you're 9 times out of 10 just living it already. You want to envision your favorite day, because when you start envisioning what is important to you, and when you hear that word favorite day and what you really want, it starts making clear, oh, this day, this type of day is important to me because that is a part of your purpose. You want to write a list of your passions and your priorities and desires, and because they all line up to the things that line up with your purpose. And then you want to listen within yourself and be in tune with how you're feeling and how this kind of resonates with you. Okay, so not this one. Let's see, there we go. So when it's possible, what's possible when you get support to live a purpose-driven life is you increase your sense of ease and focus. Your dreams don't feel so far away, and you gain greater meaning and joy in life. And I have this call, purpose clarity call, that's going to help you just one step closer, 1 degree shift of defining your purpose, because it will help you alleviate that stress. As a mom, it'll help you be in tune with yourself. It will help you shed some light in those areas in your life. Okay, so to do that, we will put it in the chat. Hopefully this was super helpful for you all. And I have a call, just a few slots open up between today and Monday. So if you're interested in setting up a purpose clarity call, you can do so by using the link that's going to be in the chat shortly. So let me stop sharing. And thank you. And with that, we're going to transition. Okay.
I'm still putting your links in the chat, just so you know.
No worries. No worries. It's all good. Okay. So we have another amazing speaker. Aren't you guys loving this? You have some great speakers. Tracy Cheney. Did I pronounce it right? The
Cheney.
last name?
Yeah.
Cheney?
Think Liz Cheney, then you've got it.
Okay, Tracy Cheney. Okay. Is a master teacher, having taught thousands of kids over the decades, pre-K to 8th grade, 4 generations starting with Gen X. She is a California Elementary Art Teacher of the Year in 2013. Her program was honored as California Exemplary Program of 2015. And Tracy was selected to serve on the California State Education Committee of 5 specialists to write the new art standards for public schools adopted by California legislature in 2019. Having worked in 14 schools and taught hundreds and hundreds of kindergartners, Tracy knows it's important to reach the parents of small children ages 2 and 5 in this age of handheld electronics. She wants to assure you that scribbling and coloring is the path to thriving in school. So without further ado, we have Tracy.
Thank you. Well, thanks, Latasha. And certainly having kind of following a baby whisperer and a mom whisperer, I'm going to talk about that age group when we are turning 1 to 5 and what's really, really important for little ones at this point. So I'm going to screen share here. Let me get my, now I had my slides up. Let's see, I think I'm, are we doing it right? I see them. Do you see them? No. Okay. Let's see. I didn't do that right.
It's coming on now.
Is it?
Yeah, it's on now. It's just if you can make it a little bigger, like
Yes,
full
I can.
screen.
Yeah, I can.
You need to click on slideshow because you're doing it as a presenter.
There we go.
There.
All righty. So what I want to may wondering, why are you talking about preschool right now? If you are thinking of having your child or grandchild in preschool next September, and I'm talking to you in November and you're going, isn't that a kind of funny? Believe it or not, schools are having their open houses now. And you need to know that we have lost a lot of teachers from the profession, and especially at this age group. So there are fewer slots. So I wanting to give parents a sense of urgency that you actually need to be looking at those preschools now, believe it or not. And if your child's 1, it doesn't hurt to go get on some lists if you're in an area that has lost a lot of their preschool slots. The thing is, some of those schools, their slots will be filled by January. So in my area, the open houses they've been some in October, there have been some in November. So that's why I'm talking to you now, because it seems logical I would talk to you in May, but we also want to get children ready. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about, because as a teacher, I have seen huge changes. You know, you can't have taught a lot of decades without swinging back and forth. But right now, my concern is our little ones. So today I want to talk to you parents that have small children. I'm going to talk about 4 essentials that we've known about since the 70s. And I've added one more, and that's what my talk really is about today. And the way that we are brain development is really easy. We don't have to think we need all kinds of stuff. We're going to see these are little humans and what they need. And we're going to talk about the 3 stages of drawing, where we want kids to be by kindergarten. And having been teaching hundreds and hundreds of kindergartners, I realized that after we had to pivot during the pandemic to teaching online, I could actually reach you parents that we never see until we get to school. So this was very exciting, and it's kind of become my mission. So the 5 essentials, and you know, we see billboards around these things. If you've seen a billboard that says, read to your child every day or talk to your child, we know these things are important for small children. And certainly Irene talked about that with babies, but you also want to just talk to them all the time and engaging them. And that's how they learn language. And they start getting a sense of numbers and all things because you're talking to them. Reading out loud every day, of course, serving nutritious food. But what I see is a lot of soda and baby bottles and things like this. When you're around the schools, you see little siblings and all, and play. And what I'm going to talk about today is drawing and scribbling and doodling, which kind of gets lumped into play because people don't really understand the key role that it plays. And it's like a hit or miss, or it's kind of random, and it's not that at all. And that's why I felt it was really important to be able to address you parents with your little ones. This started off as taking tips and writing for my colleagues who taught nursery in schools where I've been, and for parents. And I would always talk to them. I don't see parents of little ones that often, but my big thing would be scribble, just scribble. You'll just be doing great. Just scribble. And it's true. I don't want to spend time on credentials, but what I want to point out is that in the mid 2000s, first grade got pushed down into kindergarten. And this has had a really big impact. And we know, like what I'm going to talk to you today, it's not anything I invented. We've had this knowledge since 1940s, but we keep ignoring it. And now I really see the impact of that. And the last thing on there is the invention of the iPad. I don't want you to think I'm anti-technology. We're technology. We're being able to communicate through this medium in just ways that are amazing. But the iPad has had a really, really big impact. So we're not trying to make children into great little artists. We're going to talk about the art marks that naturally come from children at this age. And the really important thing is why your children need to be having pencils or pens and paint is because they need to work out through themselves, and it comes through the doing, that symbols stand for things. Now we see that in the caves of Lascaux, and I don't see a big difference between that and a 3-year-old coming to these incredible conclusions that a symbol can stand for something. And I have to point out on the caves of Lascaux that a researcher, maybe 6 years ago, was really looking at the hands and realized these are women's hands, by the way. Now, I came up through art history and all, and it's always was, oh, the men hunters and gatherers, they're having these rituals for the hunt. These are women's hands, and it changes everything. Nobody knows what needs, they don't know what to do now, and change the theories completely. But these women's hands down in the caves, we've really come to feel like the hands, representing themselves, like their signature. If that's what it was, we don't know for sure. Of course, it's 30,000 years ago, but I see the same miracle happening with small children, and they only get there by having drawing tools in their hands. Now, little kids don't need much, so we do not need the 64 pack of crayons. I really don't recommend paint at this age when they're really small, because one, it feels really good, and they're very, oh, this feels good. And they can't always tell between that and poop and everything else. And you do not need this all over the place. So I stick away, like you don't need this, parents, don't worry. A pencil will do it. And I love this little guy. We know what he's thinking. And that's the thing, the art materials, why kids need this is because they develop the visual language first before they have the verbal. Okay, you don't need to teach your kids how to do this. You haven't taught them very much at this point. They've done this all themselves. And it just happens because they're little human beings. And what I'm telling you now happens internally too. We've kind of got this idea that kids, we've got to have flashcards with little children, and they need to know all this stuff. No, drawing is academic for small children. This is how you get ready. They need to do a lot of this because they need to be able to learn how to use the tool, and they're going to teach it themselves. And like, oh man, I don't need to mash stuff when I kind of pull away. I can start getting more detail when I'm ready. But if we don't give the kids that opportunity, they don't get ready. And when I see them at kindergarten and they've not had this experience, they still have to go through the experience. But it's not going to happen at school, and they're already going to be behind. This has a huge impact on reading and math. It's really surprising, but I see it. Okay, it is an internal job, but you can short circuit it. One, by not providing materials because you think that it's too messy, or the kids, it's just such a random thing. It's not random, but all the electronics being held in these little hands, when I look at that, you need to make sure you're giving equal time to crayons and pencils. And the thing is, with this stuff, it has an allure to it. But what we need to remember is the children are not being able to process the world. Now, Irene talked about the kids are processing everything through their eyes, and they are. It's got to come out through their hands. They are going to express that. Living inside a two-dimensional world that an adult has created is not processing the world at all. And you are cutting off developing all those little brain neurons that need to connect, that you only get through learning and doing. The other thing that I feel like we've really messed up here by not honoring this, we are forcing kids to write But that's not how kids learn. They need to do a lot of drawing first on their own, not what an adult is telling them what to do. Then they're ready to read, and then they're right. And what I've seen happen in kindergarten, it is completely upside down and backwards. And believe me, I have done a lot of protesting. This has become a soapbox, and you will hear me say it a lot. So we have to teach kids where they are developmentally. They get to that point by drawing and coloring and scribbling and crawling and doing steps and all the things that they need, but they can't go beyond their developmental level. And we're forcing that with these small children. You need to draw your way to each stage of development. They need to do that work. So how is scribbling tied to all this success in school? Well, let's go through it and see that it's not, it starts off randomly. Yes. So just your child sitting on your lap, you have a pen in your hand, you start to write the grocery list, they naturally want to grab the pen. Let them have it. Let them have it. They're showing you they're interested. Listen to what they're saying to you. They are ready to do this. And it starts off very randomly. It starts off, can be on your walls, it can be on everything, because it feels good, but also they're really interested. Don't interrupt your child's interest there. They're telling you it's developing from within. It's not an outside thing, it's an inside thing coming out. The next thing is when the child starts to get some control, we start to see, well, we'll just let me get to the next slide here. These are the 3 stages of scribbling, and here now we can talk, here's random. But what's really important about this is the child, and usually it's a big arm movement and it's shoulders and their whole body is involved in this. We're developing all these little muscles that you can't get any other way. When we get to controlled scribbling, we're starting to see, their handedness, and where they're starting to make strokes, and they're learning to hold a pencil. That's going to be really important coming into preschool, because there's an expectation they know what to do with a pencil. And when we are at stage 3, the child is talking about things. This is actually helping their verbal development. And you can talk to them about what's going on. They may be able to talk to you. They may not. They may be so on the flow. It's like, go away. Don't take that personally. They are totally engaged, mind and body, in this. And the imagination is going wild. You are getting to see what they're thinking. That's what's so exciting as a parent at this age. In step 2, when we get to phase 2 of scribbling, this is when a child's got enough control now to be able to close shapes. This is a natural thing. Until they can do this, why would you try and even teach letters? They come to this themselves. And you will see when they're at this stage, there is not things are floating around. Kids don't have a sense of depth perception and all yet. And remember, they are thinking this and working this out. And you're seeing that happen right before your eyes. And what I love is when children start drawing little faces. Look, your face, and everybody your face has been in their face. They are drawing what they see. And that's your face. That's your portrait. That's how important you are. The most important thing in their life. They have worked all this way up through all of this to be able to do that. Where we want kids to get to next is symbolism. And I talked about that right in the very beginning. This is where children, they're going to ask you, maybe they want to write their name. This is my granddaughter when she was 4. And the only thing she really cared about was Elsa and Frozen. She didn't care about her name, but she wanted to know how to spell Elsa. So they're asking you for this stuff. They are at that point because they've learned how to close the shapes. And she's sitting in her Frozen costume, which she wore. And we heard Frozen about 14 times a day. But that's where her interest was. And so her doodling and her sketching is all reflecting what she's thinking about. Now, we don't expect kids at this point to be able, they don't match color to objects. They're not going to make green grass. So to criticize something because that's not what color it is, they don't even have that kind of thinking right now. They're doing what's important to them. So it's going to be they color with their favorite color. And things are going to be floating around because they haven't got the depth perception yet, but it's coming. When we get to stage 3, and this is where we want to see kids at kindergarten, but you see all the work that they have to do before that, and it can't be okay. And that's why I'm talking to you in November. Oh, we better do some scribbling and some drawing before we start school in September. No, this is a long process. It evolves because you're doing it. But when you can start to see, you can see she's doing rainbows. She's figured out, and we see gobs of rainbows at this age. Things that are familiar that they like, and they're working this out. And they are going to draw that object that way for a long time. They've figured out how they make the symbol, but you recognize it, and that's really exciting. And so where we want kids to be by kindergarten age is that they are now putting things on a baseline. They are understanding, like the tree grows out of the ground, and it's like you want them to put it up the way they were doing when they're small. No, because this is the stage where they are right now, but that's where we want them to be when we're ready to read and write. They've done all this writing, all this pre-writing themselves. Now, as I say, the transition is when we are seeing a baseline, we are ready for other things now. We've got all that knowledge in our head. We have come to that. We've processed the world, and we're there. Now, one of the things that I love is the development of people. And it goes through very, very specific stages. And we learn a lot from that's how I start a kindergarten class, or if I'm doing an evaluation for a first grade class, we ask the kids to draw their family. And when they do that, you just learn so much. You don't need a ton of fancy tests, and you don't need to spend hours and hours on testing, because you can see it in the drawings. Now, it used to be, before we had all the handheld electronics, that, you could really see the children who were not drawing at this level. So would look at that and feel like, okay, do we have a learning issue, or is it just that they're inexperienced? What is it? And really focus on that one. But you could also tell the kids that were ready to be in the reading group and ready to go. And why hold them back for a year while you get them tested? No, it's in the drawings. It's right there. So I just want to talk about developing people. And on my website, you can go and download this for free, just this template of learning how kids evolve drawing people. And you know what? You haven't taught this. This is them observing. That's why they cannot have screens in front of their faces. They need to observe a long time. And then it takes a while to figure all this stuff out. But I just adore tadpole people, because this is so right on where the child is. I mean, this child may be 2 and drawing this, but who are they drawing? You, the most important person. And you do look like a big head. You've been a big head in their life, and they're very short on the ground. And you do look like you have giant legs coming out of your head. So look at what that child is doing to portray you. Eventually, we start seeing arms coming out of the heads. And don't you look like that? I mean, where do the arms come from? Well, these kids have been held for so long, they don't even see your arms, right? They don't see them because they've been holding them. But you start seeing, they're paying attention now. Oh, we've got fingers. Well, they're not really counting, but look how small we are, and look at our perception. We have been paying attention. I mean, I like kids, obviously I love kids' drawings, but oh my gosh, the emergence of tadpole people, your child is really telling you where their thinking is. And that is so exciting. But when they are starting to portray, when they are starting to portray people in 6 parts, oh, it's a head, 2 arms, 2 legs, kind of a body. Hey, we're ready to read. We are at that point. We get all this. We have paid attention, and I've spent a long time really laboriously figuring this out. It's not hard work for them, but they figured it out. As you go on to school and the children's age, they start adding details and they're starting to try and do all of that stuff. And I would just want to say the stages are just very clear, except now with all of this other interference. So when I lay out a class's work, and I have so many kids that are not able to do what I would be expecting that they would do at that age, really paying attention to it. Do we have a learning issue? Is it that they're inexperienced? They did not have crayons and things at home, so they haven't practiced. Is it electronics? And now they are wired differently. When Gen Z was going to be starting school, and we were asking the experts, because this was going to be our first group of digital natives, and we're going, nobody knew what to expect. They just kept saying they're going to be wired differently. And we go, and what does that mean? How does that play out? Well, it has changed education a lot. It's like gamification and all of the stuff that we've had to respond to, but I've really seen it in the drawing, or not enough drawing. So as we're going through ages 5 through 8, this is where we want kids to go. When you don't have the practice, you don't get those details. You need to be drawing details because you're going to be, getting up into 4th grade, huge jump between 3rd and 4th grade. And it's so much about the details. And we can handle that when we're drawing it because we see them now. Why is school a struggle? You see it in the drawings. So one thing, parents, you can download those on my site. You can also get, these are the milestones put out by the CDC, and you can get them for free from the website. But what I've done is put in the drawing milestones that you should see at this age. And they, let me just back up a little bit here. I put pink check marks where they actually put something that related to drawing, but you can see it's just kind of glossed over and not attention spent to it. And even in preschools, I see centers where drawing's optional. No, it's not optional. You need to be doing this. And preschools that have just become, because they don't know the value of it, because the teachers are not educated about it. If you are having, you have 12 units of early childhood education, you're not getting this. And yet it's so critical to the kindergarten teacher, who, a friend of mine who's been a long time kindergarten teacher, and my mother-in-law was a kindergarten teacher of the year kind of thing. They just kept seeing so many changes and say, we are having to teach kids how to color. That is a very strange statement to hear from a kindergarten teacher, but it's really impacting what they can do with the kids. So I felt like your child was going to get evaluated using these when you go to a preschool. They're going to evaluate the child using something, and these milestones are very common in pediatrician's office. I mean, they're everywhere. So I just dropped the drawing milestones on top of it. That's me doing that. My computer is very sensitive here. I just wanted you to see where your child was doing all these other things and making sure that you're paying attention, that you're giving the crayons and the drawing so that they are also meeting these milestones, because these are going to count a lot at kindergarten. So this is what's been troubling to me, is that school has gotten more and more demanding for small children at the very same time that they're coming less prepared. And why are they coming less prepared? Is it the technology? Because parents feel that's the academics that they need, but they're still in front of a screen. If you do not give your child a screen before 2, fantastic. The more you can hold it off, great. Because you know what? In school, they're going to get everything. And when I taught up in the San Jose area in California, that's Silicon Valley, there was an elementary school where the parents asked no technology at the elementary school. Let school be school. And I never got over there to see what that was like, because I was busy at teaching in my own school. But I really wanted to see that. I really was very admiring of that attitude, because the parents are going, the kids will get it. Okay, so what are we expecting of preschoolers? We're talking 4-year-olds, that they already have experience, right? Drawing strokes up and down. And at 3, you should be able to cross. That's a skill. Making a diagonal. a circle. These are all skills that children naturally get by coloring. Coming with some scissor skills, and that the fine motor skills are developing, and those only come through drawing and scribbling. So this, preschool looks like preschool, a little more demand because of the kindergarten demands. You're getting a push on the writing, but look what kindergarten has become. It used to look like preschool. Now we want kids arriving knowing their ABCs and how to hold a pencil correctly. It is really challenging to teach that when the kids haven't done it. So little kids, we're talking 5-year-olds, are being expected to have more of a class lecture and being able to look at the board and do that on their paper. That is a skill. We don't spend a lot of time teaching it. It's a skill, but we have far fewer child-directed activities. And it just killed me to see like the play kitchen getting tossed out of our kindergarten and all of these things in favor of working in workbooks. So I'm the little kid down in the front row with the headband. How did we get ready, we boomer kids? Well, you know what? The older kids are coloring. The little brothers and sisters pull up to the table and they start coloring too, and they're pretty good. And we were outside in the mud and making mud pies and all of that. And it just was a natural process. And so we have to be really cognizant now of what we're offering for our really small children. We don't let the kids play in the front yard anymore. Some kids are not getting out much. And we have a speaker in our series who talks a lot about the importance of nature play to kids and how it regulates their system and their nervous system and all of that. So we have to be mindful as parents and grandparents now that we're providing these kind of opportunities for our small ones. So here's my mission, if you choose to join me, is making sure that your little ones are having at least 10 minutes of drawing every day, so they're just used to it. I don't like hearing, it's with second graders, the little math and science boys who come up and say, I don't like this, I'm not going to do this. And it's like, you're telling me at 7 that holding a pencil and drawing is really hard for you. But where I've been the most sad is at middle school, because as we've dropped the requirements for cursive writing, which really does flow right into art and flexibility, it's part of your thinking, but also being able to write the number of essays that's expected at 6th grade, it gives you fluency. And we're not having any of these drawing experiences. We took art away. So you get boys who are 11 in 6th grade, really just cannot really manage their pencils, and their drawing is looking super immature, and that makes them feel bad. And we just get into this cycle of feeling inadequate because we didn't do this back here. And you know what? That's what they need to go through. They really need to have the scribbling time and the drawing time, and so that they get fluent with it. They really need that. And it's very hard because once you're in middle school, you're getting graded on everything. How do I have compassion for these boys? But the other thing that concerns me, and this is a whole nother topic on educating boys, but it concerns me that their skills are so stunted that they might not go into the career choices that kind of typically they might have, like in architecture or any of that, because the drawing's holding them back. And for me, that has been, very painful. So I'm hoping that I've impressed upon you the importance of scribbling to everybody at all ages, and we had this resurgence of coloring books for adults wanting to do that. It is so related to our soul. And what I just find over and over that has just pained me is, and I hear it constantly, is adults saying, well, I can't draw and I can't draw, So you come to the conclusion, because you didn't get the time that you needed and the experience and the instruction, that you're blunted in this area. And it's not true. What I find by going to craft fairs is that creativity is going to be expressed in some way. You may not think you can draw it as a figure. It's going to come out because we're human beings. So I just want to say to parents, let your little one be a little human being that is developing and exciting in what you're seeing. So you can pick up free things over at my website on my preschool tab. Just look for preschool tab because there's a lot of things on there, and look under good stuff and you'll find the drawing people milestone stages, the CDC guidelines, and other things that would help you keep this in mind. Just being normal. That's it. You can just be normal and your child will be well prepared for preschool and kindergarten. So thanks for letting me share today. Yes, I know you can tell it's my soapbox issue. And I love it. I love watching the development, but it also really pains me to see children coming in that are missing this link in their experience. And most likely, either they're going to get pushed through school or they're going to flunk kindergarten. And over this is a hard thing because people don't understand why the kids aren't being able to perform. And one last thing, my daughter adopted 3 kids from in Los Angeles. We live in Los Angeles, and adopted 3 children from Compton, and the kids had been in foster care and split up. And the 5-year-old, when he came into our house, I'd always said preschool was important, but not till I had a child living in my house who had never had preschool, what a detriment it was to his development. And we really felt he needed to do preschool, but they wouldn't take him because he was 5. And at the end of kindergarten, it's like, we need to really repeat kindergarten because we could not overcome the deficits in a couple of months from the time the children arrived to starting school. But everybody's like, it's okay. He'll be okay. You know what? It doesn't get made up. And it just pains us that at 3rd grade, he had to be held back. It just wasn't possible to go on. And I'm telling you, this is a critical thing. And I've written grants to be able to do remedial art with kindergartners. That's how important it is. So if you can help me get out my message, it will just benefit children and their families so much. And we don't need to have a struggle over this, really. We really don't. So thank you, everybody, for your attention, and have a great rest of your evening. And I think I just have to say how much I enjoyed. Let me just get out of this stop screen share thing here. And if I stop screen share, are we going to, there we go. How much I enjoyed hearing from Latasha and Irene. I just learned so much too. And we see how it all flows together. It really does. And being human, being kind to ourselves as parents, and just witnessing that miracle of babies to small children. It is a phenomenal 5-year process that you get to enjoy before they go to school and leave you. But it is phenomenal. And I wish you all the best with that. Do you guys have anything you want to add?
It was wonderful sharing this evening with you ladies.
It was. What a powerhouse.
Yeah, such a gift. And I learned so much from you ladies as well. So,
and we all work in our different fields, but it's interesting how it all goes together to benefit kids and moms. And that's what we're about at Workshops for Moms.